Hello everyone. So I want to take time explaining you how to beat competition in AML job market when there are too many people with the CAMI, CFCS or ICA certification in every city, every country in the world. You know, it's just too easy. The beating of the competition is just too easy because the world is full of low IQ people. World is full of lazy people. World is full of people with low attention span. So these people, etc. So these are the traits of the people. These people, when they want to either start their career in anti-money laundering or they are already working and they want to improve their career and they decide to do AML certification like CFCS or CAMS or ICA diplomas, advanced diplomas in from ICA. These people, they usually look for crash course. They look for lots of practice questions, mock questions on internet or past questions on internet. They want to crack the exam quickly by focusing on the flashcards or by focusing on some short summaries. So they are able to somehow pass the exam with bare minimum marks, because the exams are multiple choice questions. If you play a guessing game, you can easily pass the exam. Any Tom, Dick and Harry, from whatever country can pass the exam with bare minimum mask, exam score. And when these people apply for jobs, when they put it on their resume and start applying for the jobs, they are found out. When they have been effing around here, they are found out right here when they apply for the job interview and they are asked, there is there's much more technical assistance, starting with the written assessment. The HR department send them the case studies and expect them to give a appropriate response to those. Those people use ChatGPT to draft the assessment, respond to the case studies on anti-money laundering, and when they are asked to come on a in-person interview, that's where they are unable to pass any technical rounds of interview because they are found out to be cheap AML specialist. Unfortunately, this is a harsh reality. You know, world is just full of low IQ people. They know the reality that exam passing the exam is not that difficult. you know it's very expensive. Certification costs so much money, but since the exam is a multiple choice question, it's just too easy to play the guessing game and pass the exam. The guessing game is the multiple choice questions, and the examiner provided study material is not even technical. You know, you can easily get the bare minimum marks. But since the exam is so expensive, if you are effing around here with such an expensive exam, cost $1,000 or $3,000 or $5,000, whichever the certification you decide to do. The exams are so expensive. When you expecting to save money sponsoring yourself to pay for this exam, you actually pass the exam with bare minimum marks. You expecting significant increment, improvement in your career, in your salary, and you unable to see that. When you apply for jobs, those interviewers finds you out to be a cheap AML specialist, because when they ask you much more difficult questions during the interview, much more difficult questions than your AML certification exam questions. When they ask you practical questions, scenario based questions, conceptual questions, they are unable to respond to those questions. They are not even move on to the next round of interview, and the certification is only valid for 3 years, they lose that certification, they lose that money, thousands of dollars that they have paid. And that's where in those 3 years of applying, they are every day suffering. They then would like to pay, since they didn't put effort right here, in this period. They then would like to ask help from the people. They would like they look they want to do begging. They're looking for people to beg and request for job placement assistance, for reference to help them get a job, because they can't get a job themselves. Or if they are able to get a job, they get a KYC job. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can get a KYC job. You do not need to spend thousands of dollars in doing a certification to start your career at KYC. Or if they get a job in anti-money laundering, they get a contractual job. All of this is a low IQ behavior. People are not interested in putting efforts. So when you're looking to spend so much money uh, to self-sponsor, you should spend lots of time as well to become a subject matter expert in anti-money laundering. If you have experience in anti-money laundering, or you want to and you further want to improve your career, you're working as an analyst, you want to move to a management position, you're working in management, you want to move to the senior management position, so your interviews when you apply for that senior management or management position will be much more technical. They want you to have hands-on experience, they want you to have drafting experience of policy drafting, procedural drafting, service level agreement drafting. They want you to have exposure in how to liaison with the internal auditors, with the QA teams, and so on. They want you to be able to know how to communicate with the financial crime committees and so on. So they don't have any of those knowledge, any of those exposure, and they want high salary, you know and no one offers them any job on high salary. They are stuck at the same position, in the same organization, in the same bank, working even after spending such a large amount of money. So their organization didn't bother to even sponsor them. They were not even nominated to for being sponsored for the certification by the HR department. Typical low IQ behavior. So when there are too many people out there, you can easily beat them, you know, in the competition by doing totally opposite to what they did. You know, so what you do, you're gonna spend money like them, but you're gonna put lots of efforts in becoming a subject matter specialist. How to become a subject matter specialist in or expert in AML? When someone asks you anything about anti-money laundering, you should be able to technically respond to them on any technical question. So you know anything and everything about anti-money laundering. You know, so it includes transaction monitoring, sanction screening, TPML, adverse media, crypto. It includes how internal audit reports are done. It includes how risk appetite statements are drafted. It includes how the quality assurance reports are reviewed, and how we coordinate with them. It includes how we test the anti-money laundering sanction screening tool, how to set the threshold, how to fine-tune them. It includes how you deal with the AI, what are the impacts of the artificial intelligence these days in the transaction monitoring, in the anti-money laundering, and in PLI, and also in the DPC as well, detection, prevention, correction. It includes how you deal with what sort of observation and exceptions are identified in the internal audit reports. Everything. They ask you, they drill you during the interview about anything. You have knowledge about everything. So you make sure that you do not give the interviewers any opportunity, during the interview process. You give them no opportunity to reject you. It's just too easy. Those interviewers are all looking for highly technical individuals. So you make sure that you show them, you convince them, or you impress them with your knowledge. When you are responding to their questions above your pay grade, above your experience level, this is how you are able to impress them. You show them that how good your big data analytical skills are, how good your analytical skills, how you are able to identify outliers and anomalies, how you can lower your bank's false negative, how you can help the bank lower the false positive alerts as well. So this is what, then the interviewers, they are bombarded with lots of applicants with so many certifications, and they're fed up with low IQ people who have passed multiple choice based AML certifications. So they're not looking for people with lots of certification, they're looking for technically sound in professionals and individuals. And you can easily, do that. I passed my examination. I've been able to switch the job since passing the exam 3 times in the last 5 years. It just was too easy, to beat the competition. If you are a low IQ person, it's going to be, of course, be very difficult, you know. But if you're willing to put efforts, you're not low IQ. You are willing to understand lots of different things. You are willing to read lots of documents. You are able to remember, understand, and remember those concepts. And when someone asks you any questions about them, you give a very technically sound, using right terminologies to respond to it. Very few people are able to do this. Based on my experience of training so many, 3,400 people from 92, 93 different countries, I found them out, the ones who are willing to put efforts and willing to do things the right way, to be the only the 10% of them, or 1 out of 10 people are willing to do that. The ratio is so low, so the rest of them are all looking for this. They're just looking for summaries. They're not interested in reading. They're not even willing to remember anything. They're not willing to even join the training session, the training program live. They would like to only focus on the recordings. They watch the 4 hours training session in just 4 minutes by fast forwarding the recordings. They don't have time. These low IQ people just don't have time to put efforts. But when they're found out, they have lots of time to beg. They contact their ex-colleagues, their ex-bosses. They try to find anyone over the internet on LinkedIn to beg them to please help them get a job, because when they're suffering in those 3 years, because they're suffering because every day they woke up in the morning and they think about the thousands of dollars that they have spent in doing a certification which have not improved their career. So certification will only help you land some job interviews. But if you are not technically sound, you're going to suffer a lot. So that's why if someone is trying to convince you that you can quickly pass your exam in just one weekend, they have thousands of practice questions, they have very short summaries, some flashcards, and you can quickly pass your exam, they're scamming you. You should not fall for their scam. Someone telling you that they can help you pass the exam through some proxy, they can sit for the exam on your behalf and help you pass, you should say that you are a scammer. I'm not interested in spending thousands of dollars and quickly passing the exam, because the real test actually starts after passing the exam. How the hell I'm gonna get a job? How the hell I'll be able to convince or impress someone doing the multiple technical rounds of interview if I don't have the technical knowledge? They will call me a cheap AML specialist rather than subject matter expert in anti-money laundering. You should be asking these questions. So don't bother spending thousands of dollars on such an expensive exam if you're not willing to put the efforts. So in this very highly competitive job market, it's too easy for the high IQ people to get the job that they're looking for. They switch jobs so many times. They are able to negotiate the salary with the HR department the way they want, the salary, the designation they want, the 30%, the 50% raise they want every time they switch the job. But low IQ people, the 90% of those people, they feel that the job market is highly competitive. They feel that they cannot beat the competition. Doesn't matter how many certificates they do. So passing the certificates should not be your aim. Your aim should be to become a subject matter expert, where anyone asks you anything and you should be able to respond to their questions the way they want. So your goal is not to convince the examiner. Your goal is to convince those people who hire you, who assess you technically, who's going to give you your salary every month. That should be your goal, and prepare for that. The much more technically sound people, they have very high IQ, they are in a very senior position when they interview us during the interview. So prepare for that. The 50 hours of training sessions help you prepare for that. And then I do the CPDs, which is called continuing profession development training session, which prepares you for much more technical topics, like the topics that I just mentioned, testing the AML tool, how to draft the policies, AML policies, how the behavioral detection run is done in alert generation, every step of the process, what is horizon scanning is, how to validate anti-money laundering models, how the AI is impacting in anti-money laundering and data protection law, how to review the internal reports, what is the risk tolerance level in anti-money laundering, investigation of NGOs or NPOs, investigation of high aging alerts, so abuse of citizen investment programs, they how to draft the RFIs, how to draft the risk appetite statements. These knowledge of these things, the conceptual technical knowledge of those things, because I spend 2 hours on every of those topics when I conduct those training sessions with my trainees who have joined my training program. It helps them prepare for those rounds of interview. But unfortunately, 90% of them are not willing to join these training sessions. I have my ratio of 10% of the people who are willing to put effort. I try to convince every one of them that please put efforts. I let me guide you how to put those efforts, how to pass the job interviews. But unfortunately, just people are old, they are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, but unfortunately, they have a confirmation bias. They're not willing to put efforts. They have lots of excuses. I couldn't find time, I had something else to do. I was, although the training sessions are conducted only on weekends, they just have excuses of, busy with the family or busy something somewhere else, and they said that we'll watch the recordings when we get the time to watch the recording, and they never get the time to watch the recording. Whenever they attend that watch the recording of those 50 hours of training session, they watch them in by fast forwarding them. They're not willing to put efforts on reading the documents that I so many documents that I shared with them to help them prepare for every possible type of question in the examination, and much more difficult question during the interview. So what's the solution? Solution is that you put your efforts. When you are willing to spend thousands of dollars, you should be willing to put the required efforts as well. Lots of reading, lots of memorization, lots of remembering the concept that I'm going to cover, attending the sessions live, and making sure that you have the right attitude, you have are interested in anti-money laundering, and you're willing to know anything and everything about anti-money laundering, financial crime compliance, anti-financial crime. So that's the way to beat the competition. I want all my trainees to be 100% of them to be able to do this, but unfortunately, I cannot force them. I cannot go to their countries. I cannot force them to come and sit and listen when they're easily distracted because they watch too many TikTok videos. When they are lazy because that's how they have done their bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and all the schools as diplomas and the result cards by focusing on the practice past questions. It's difficult to change their IQ as well when they are not interested in making any self improvement. So very easy to beat the competition when the world is full of low IQ crowd, and this is how you're gonna stand out. You, know, you show them recruiters, the introverts, what they're looking for, and you beat the competition very easily by passing all the technical rounds of interview. Next batch is starting on 15th of November. Contact me on WhatsApp, find out how these training sessions are conducted, and join with the right attitude. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.